Been looking at the book from Paul Hadjick of Clutton Cox, Conveyancing Solicitors, and we've been looking through all of the chapters. Now, this book is available from the cluttoncox.co.uk website. If you just pop in your email address there, Paul will send you a free copy. Now, planning permissions and building regulations is a chapter number 23. Paul talks about how planning controls are designed to ensure that in all new builds and where alterations or renovations are planned for existing properties, there is compliance with the current methods and materials. Now, not all works to existing properties require consent from the local authority, as Paul explains. Works of a small nature may fall under an exemption known as permitted development. But most people also know that when you want to add an extension or alter your property substantially, you may need planning permission. And where planning permission is not required, you may still need building regulation approval from the local authority. Now, the history of building regulations is that it's not a new phenomenon. In fact, they were introduced a long time ago after the Great Fire of London in 1667. But as night follows day, the regulations are added to year after year. The most recent to receive new regulation was septic tanks and solar panels. There have been many regulations brought in by the government since 2000, and the new Localism Act will further change some requirements. On your sale, your conveyancing solicitor will ask you to complete a property information form asking you to detail any works you've had carried out to your property which might have required building regulation approval or a certificate from a qualified tradesman. Such regulations govern situations where you've erected a new building, extended or altered an existing one, and include drains, heat-producing appliances, for example, central heating, but they also may include other heating, washing and sanitary facilities, and hot water storage. Here is a list of some of the requirements which you'd not have required to apply for formal building regulations, which may need a certificate. Safety glazing. Since 1st of April 2002, any new or replacement windows, glazed doors and roof lights and windows require a FENSA, which is a Fenestration Self-Assessment Scheme, certificate. Central heating. Since March 1st, 2003, any new central heating system has needed a registered contractor's certificate of installation. Electrical wiring. Since 1st of January 2005, newly installed electrical wiring, with a few exceptions, must carry a certificate from a registered electrician. And it may not surprise you that building regulation approval must be sought from your local council planning department for this type of works: removal or part removal of a load-bearing wall, a loft conversion, conversion of a house into flats, and even insertion of cavity wall insulation. Now, solar panels. Building regulations don't normally apply where you wish to install solar panels on your roof, but there are, however, important exceptions and provisos. Now, when you are buying a property, your conveyancing solicitor will check whether formal building regulation was applied for, or to check if there was a final certificate from 1992 onwards, but for some local authorities later, the certificate were obtained confirming the works have been carried out in accordance with the building regulations. Now, lack of building regulations. If the works were completed many years ago, your conveyancing solicitor will advise you that the works may have been carried out unsupervised and may not be up to standard, so you should seek advice from your surveyor in this circumstance. Now, when you are selling, lack of building regulations may be regarded as a defect. You may be required to approach a local authority for a regularisation certificate or provide an indemnity policy. Some policies, however, do not cover remedial work, so you need to check on that. If you breach building regulations, the local authority can take action against you up to 2 years after the breach. Now, technically, a local authority still has the power to issue an injunction at any time after the 2-year period. There's currently no cut-off time. In practice, a local authority will only seek emergency injunction powers where the building is in imminent danger of collapse. But be aware, if you contact a local authority, the indemnity policy route will not be open to you. Very important. Now, enforcement of building regulations is important too. If you breach them, the local authority can take action to you against 2 years after launch. But the local authority will also have 4 years in which to take action for breach of planning control and 10 years for breach of planning condition. Localism Act, which came into force in 2012, means that there is a 4 and 10 year period which is applicable where there's been deceit or deliberate concealment. Listed buildings and conservation areas are slightly different. Now, there are no time limits for the enforcement of anything which has been done on the listed building. Indeed, it may actually result in a criminal offence having occurred. In such situations, retrospective listed building consent should be sought from the local authority. Now, you definitely don't want to be having a criminal conviction, and you don't want there to be a problem selling your house or buying a house. So the answer is, if you have any doubt at all, any of this, contact your conveyancing solicitor. Grab the free book from cluttoncox.co.uk with all this information in, and if you want an expert conveyancing solicitor working for you, just email info@cluttoncox.co.uk.